Email eddie.nestor@bbc.co.uk. In a little while, I'll be speaking to Lisette Howlett, Managing Director of highescores.com. We're talking about jobs, how to put yourself in the best position. This is a report today that said that London was the toughest place in the whole of the country to find work in. We know tough times are coming. We know the budget's with us on the 22nd of June, and there will be severe cuts. It's the most cleanly or even keenly anticipated budget in a generation. So how do you give yourself the best chance of finding a job, of getting employment, of staying in employment? If you have a question, if you're worried about your children, a friend, maybe you're thinking about changing professions, maybe you've been for 6, 7, 8 interviews, maybe you can't even get past the interview process, want to know what to wear, where to go, what not to wear, what to say, how to investigate, this is the time. It's what we're doing for you on Drive Time, give you the best possible chance of finding a job or keeping a job. Phone now, the number 020 722 42000. Text the word London and then your message to 81333 or email eddie.nestor@bbc.co.uk. We've got to tidy up some of these text messages. What have you got, Nicole?
I thought you said you were only 30 years old, so you're not too old to run after your son's bike, are you?
Well, I might be by the time he's ready to ride. You understand?
Of course, because you'll only be 32. Now, Ruth says, on unemployment, unemployed friend in her 50s had an interview yesterday. More than 100 people had applied for the job. She's not hopeful about her chances.
Yeah, I suppose that doesn't put you in the best frame of mind. So, are you unemployed? How difficult is it to find a job? Trade Union Council have revealed Londoners have the hardest time in the country finding work as job seekers outnumber vacancies 8-1. And if you live in Hackney, that figure rockets to 24-1. Joining me now in the studio to answer your employment-related questions, Lisette Howlett, who's the Managing Director of highescores.com, a recruitment review site. Good evening to you, Lisette.
Evening, Eddie.
Thanks very much for coming in. We do appreciate it. Were you surprised by these figures there, London being one of the toughest places in the country, the toughest place in the country to find a job?
Probably not. I mean, actually, it's quite interesting because they said the city bit is the easiest, and of course the financial services sector is improving at the moment, but it does tend to be looking at qualified candidates or graduates, and what this report tends to focus on is local jobs in local communities, and they do seem to be, they are going to be challenging to get.
Yeah, by local jobs in local communities, can we take for that they are probably not as highly qualified as some of the jobs in the city?
Probably requiring slightly low, different levels of qualification or different types of qualification. I think we're also, the TUC quite reasonably are looking at the job centre type roles, and those would tend to be less specialist and more generalist.
One of the texts that we've had in the show has said, hold on a minute, Eddie, be careful, because not everybody will be looking for a job in the job centre. Explain.
Right. Well, in fact, that was my first thought when I read the report from the TUC, which is, there's a number of sources of jobs. I mean, there's job centres, there's actually recruitment agencies, for example, but there's also word of mouth. And effectively, to be able to find a job, particularly if you're quite specific either about the job that you want or the locality that you wish to work in, you do need to work that network. You need to look at all the different sources of jobs and work them.
Tell me about your company.
Highescores.com. So we are a recruitment review website. So, at the simplest, we collect ratings and reviews on recruitment agencies. So that allows both employers, so people who employ people, and job seekers to find the recruitment agencies that will best work for them. And
that's based upon the number of people they find work, how happy they are with the jobs and the pay.
But also the kind of client-customer care. So from an employer's point of view, it's how well do they represent your brand in the marketplace, how well do they treat candidates, and from a candidate point of view, does the job centre listen to your needs, does it help you with your CV, does it get you interviews that are reasonable, or does it do all the things that we hear, all the negative things that we hear from time to time?
Apart from availability, what is the biggest obstacle to finding work?
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit about people getting into the right mindset and being quite positive. I mean, people often think themselves out of a job. We just heard that example where somebody got an interview even though there were hundreds of applicants and wasn't feeling very positive. Well, actually, when I heard that, I thought, gosh, if you get an interview after, if there's 100 applicants and you get an interview, this is a good thing. And you should therefore see it as a good thing and go after it from a quite positive point of view.
But that's like turning the glass that's half empty into one that's quite full. If you're going up for a job and 100 other people are going up for that job, it does lessen your chances of getting it.
It does, but the chances are that they're not going to be interviewing 100 people for a job. And if they are, they're extremely inefficient and probably not a company you want to work for. So it is a numbers game to an extent. I mean, a certain number of people will apply. They'll get screened using quite crude criteria. They'll then get screened using more detailed criteria, and then a more limited number will be interviewed. So by the time you get to the interview stage, you've certainly done some things right. So at the very least, if you don't get that particular job, follow up and try to find out why you didn't. Find out what got you to the point of success. A lot of employers and in fact agencies are quite nervous about giving negative feedback to candidates. They worry about litigation, they worry about kind of complaints. But you can actually get them to give you positive feedback. Right. So what is it that made me attractive is quite useful.
Lisette is here. She's the managing director of higherscores.com. We now know she's able. So please, come on. So filling in the application form, turning up for the interview, what to say, what not to say, what to wear. Let's not waste this opportunity. Finding a job in London is a tough thing. How do you give yourself the best possible chance? Where do you ask an expert? Where do you ask that expert? On Drive Time. The number 020 722 42000. If you'd like to text the word London and then your message to 81333. Normal charges apply. And you can email eddie.nestor@bbc.co.uk. Lisette is staying with us until 1900 hours. But now let's get the latest news headlines from Charlotte Franks.
Thanks, Eddie. The long-awaited inquiry into Bloody Sunday in Londonderry in 1972 has concluded that 13 civil rights protesters were killed unjustifiably by the British Army. A London taxi driver who drugged and sexually assaulted as many as 100 women passengers has had his bid to appeal against his conviction thrown out. And dozens of soldiers belonging to the Royal Anglian Regiment have been heckled during their homecoming parade through the streets of Barking. Those are the headlines. And now with the BBC London 94.9 travel news, here's Jules.
Thank you, Charlotte. M25 anti-clockwise looking pretty nasty this evening between junctions 5 and 9. That's after the earlier accident, so about an hour of queues between the M26 and Leatherhead. Anti-clockwise slow from 21A to 19. Again at 3 to the Dartford River crossing. Anti-clockwise 13 to 11. Clockwise 16 to 18. M40 to Chorleywood through the works. And again 22 to 25 after the earlier accident. M4 westbound, all lanes reopen after that accident, but queues between 5 and 7, that's the Langley and Slough turn-offs. A22 shut northbound with an accident at the M25 junction 6 for Godstone. A13 Stamford Hope bypass westbound, the entry slip closed for a multi-vehicle accident and fuel spillage at the Manor. In central London, an accident's been shifted from Waterloo Road, caused queues across Waterloo Bridge to the Old, which it looks a lot better now though. Brompton Road westbound, roadworks in at Lancelot Place, queues back down Piccadilly to Hyde Park Corner. Glen Eldon Road closed off for an incident eastbound at Ashlake Road. Diversions in via Streatham High Road. Also, if you're heading out on public transport, Stansted Airport, Gatwick and Heathrow all affected with the French air traffic controllers' industrial action. France, Portugal and Spain flights in and out of those all affected. Disruption for First Capital Connect, King's Cross to Peterborough and Cambridge, from Moorgate to Stevenage. Tubes, delays on the Jubilee and Metropolitan lines, not stopping at Kilburn because of the ongoing problems. That's it from me. I'm back just before 7.
BBC London 94.9.
Wake up tomorrow morning to The Breakfast Show with me, Paul Ross, and her, Gabby Rosdin. London's news, London stories, your calls and full travel updates every 15 minutes. BBC London 94.9 Breakfast from 6.
I'll be listening, Paul. I'll be listening. Lisette is here with us. Lisette Howlett, Managing Director, she is. We're talking about how to get a job, how to put yourself in a position so you stand above the crowd. That's really a TUC report out today saying that London is the toughest place in the whole country to find a job. Give us a call, 020 722 42000. Having a look at these texts here. I don't get this one, Dan. Maybe you can explain it to me. Hi, Eddie. What about this one? My computer has just got a virus called Robert Green. Now I can't save anything. I don't get it. Of course I get it. I know it's a... Sorry, Lisette, that's the standard of the sort of things that happen.